voice can break the dark. A single spark ignites the heart. But if we turn when justice calls, the chains we forge will bind us all. When truth is silenced, when lies take hold, the cost is freedom, the soul grows cold. No one stands tall while another must fall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, defending every voice, defending every right. For the moment we falter, the moment we stall, we lose our own freedom when we let others fall. You can't stand free while others kneel. When justice fades, it's freedom they steal. An innocent condemned, a crime unspoken, and with it the bond of liberty is broken. No tyrant rules without our consent. Oppression thrives where silence is spent. Stand for the weak, the silence is small, or freedom will crumble for us all. We're mavericks of freedom, guardians of the light, fighting for the truth, for what is just and right. For the rights of one are the rights of all. We rise or we fall by answering the call. Even those we may oppose deserve the rights we all uphold. For if we deny them what is fair, we build our own prison in despair. The fight's not easy, it never will be, but justice for one is the key to be free. We stand as mavericks, together we strive, defending the rights that keep freedom alive. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, upholding every truth, protecting every right. When one is oppressed, we're all in the thrall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. So take a stand, let your courage rise. Defend the truth, don't compromise. For the soul of the world, the writing's on the wall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all.
Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Maverick News Channel. Hello, Maverick family and new viewers. I received a phone call from somebody out in California asking what the phone number is to call in tonight. So maybe we'll open the phones and maybe that person will call in. Maybe we'll have a Californian join us on the line tonight. Who knows? Or maybe you will. If we open the line, it will give you a chance to weigh in on today's top news stories, which include Donald Trump saying that it's highly unlikely that he will use military force to annex Canada. He was interviewed on Meet the Press today. Also was asked in that interview about rising consumer good prices. And then, of course, he lied about the price of gas again. We'll show you the highlights. Also, his picture, the picture that he posted, the AI generated image of him posing as the Pope, still generating backlash. I have some pretty deep thoughts on a pretty deep subject that goes beyond what you're seeing on the surface there. I am writing a Substack article about that. I will post that likely in the next day or so. I may give you some preliminary thoughts on that subject tonight. Also, Queen Danielle Smith, the Queen of Alberta, giving herself the red carpet treatment. I'll explain. And we'll also touch on what's going on in Ukraine as the United States has become, under Trump, an unreliable partner with its traditional allies. Ukraine has been pivoting, taking steps to defend itself, most notably by beginning the production of arms and specifically drones in-house, within their own borders. Hundreds of thousands of them. Well, maybe thousands anyway. So that they will not be ultimately dependent entirely on the United States. And they're not dependent entirely on the United States now, actually. They get support from other countries as well. The combined European effort is actually larger than what the United States provides. Not that they don't appreciate the assistance that they're getting from the U.S., but I'm just saying there are other people out there who support them as well. And they are becoming more and more self-sufficient. As time marches on, necessity is the mother of invention, they say. So let's take a little break. We'll come back on the other side, and we'll start digging into today's top news stories. Stay with me. There's lots ahead tonight.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
And I just had to mute somebody like forever in the Rumble chat. Under attack again. Bye-bye. Yep, not going to destroy the channel. Not going to let you. So I think the chat is stabilized now over on Rumble. And thank you for alerting me to that, person who sent me the message. Yeah, they're finished. That's right. I'm getting a message. Yeah, they're finished because I finished them. That was me. Yeah, I'm the guy who banned you. So if you're going to blame anybody, right here, I'm the guy. And I'll do it again. Yes, I will. I'm tired. That's not free speech. Okay. Yeah, just enough. Let's get to the stories, shall we? First up, Donald Trump. We're going to fast forward to the midpoint of his interview on Meet the Press today. This is where he gets to the questions about Canada. We'll backtrack and show you also what he was saying about the economy and tariffs, because he got pretty heated, actually. He got pretty defensive again in this interview. But here he is talking about Canuckistan. We're so commie. We're such a bunch of commies up here. I don't know why he wants us so bad. But here he is saying again that we just have an imaginary border, which means the country doesn't really even exist. So it might as well be part of the 51st USA, 51st state, whatever, man. Anyway, just the language here again, a little bit alarming. You can make your own assessment. I'm not going to run the little clip. I'm going to run the whole section so you get it in full context, keeping in mind that he's lying about the trade deficit. Or not so much, he lies about that too, but on the subsidy side, yeah, he's just outright lying. This is not true, the numbers, and his whole interview is actually filled with lies, made up numbers. But here, you can decide for yourself. I'm just going to let it roll. Go ahead, have your free speech, Donald.
To say that, I don't want to get into that argument.
Let's move on to Canada. You have long talked about making Canada the 51st state. There's obviously a new Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, who you spoke to after his victory. He says that you didn't talk to him in that call about making Canada a 51st state.
No, he called me. He was very nice, and I congratulated him. He had a victory. It's a very close victory. It's, there's no majority or anything, so that's going to make things a little bit difficult, I think, for him to run. But he nevertheless had a victory, and he's a very nice man, I think.
Do you plan to talk to him about making Canada a 51st state?
He wants to come and see me. He's going to come this week or next week.
So will you talk to him about making Canada a 51st state, annexing Canada?
I'll always talk about that. You know why? We subsidize Canada to the tune of $200 billion a year. We don't need their cars. In fact, we don't want their cars. We don't need their energy. We don't even want their energy. We have more than they do. We don't want their lumber. We have great lumber. All I have to do is free it up from the environmental lunatics. We don't need anything that they have. We're giving them. I asked Mr. Trudeau, who I call Governor Trudeau, I said, not Prime Minister, Governor. I said, Governor Trudeau, could I ask you one question? Why are we giving you $200 billion? Why are we subsidizing Canada? If Canada was a state, it wouldn't cost us. It would be great. It would be such a great, it would be a cherished state. And if you look at our map, if you look at the geography, I'm a real estate guy at heart. When I look down at that, without that artificial line that was drawn with a ruler many years ago, it was just an artificial line, goes straight across. You don't even realize what a beautiful country it would be. It would be great. But I don't think the American public wants me to pay $200 billion a year to subsidize Canada. Again, remember this.
Yeah.
We don't need their cars. We don't need their lumber. We don't need their energy. We don't need anything.
All right, then.
We do very little business with Canada. They do all of their business practically with us. They need us. We don't need them.
You and I talked, and I asked you if you would rule out military force to take Greenland, and you said, no, you don't rule out anything. Would you rule out military force to take Canada?
Well, I think we're not going to ever get to that point. It could happen. Something could happen with Greenland. I'll be honest. We need that for national and international security.
But not with
I think
Canada?
It's highly unlikely. I don't see it with Canada. I just don't see it. I have to be honest with you.
Okay, but you don't rule it out for Greenland.
And by the way, Canada, they spend less money on military than practically any nation in the world. They pay NATO less than any nation. They think we're subsidized. They think we are going to protect them. And really, we are. But the truth is, they don't carry their full share, and it's unfair to the United States and our taxpayers.
But you are not ruling out military force to take Greenland.
I don't rule it out. I don't say I'm going to do it, but I don't rule out anything. No, not there. We need that. We need Greenland very badly. Greenland is a very small amount of people, which we'll take care of and we'll cherish them and all of that. But we need that for international security.
The Trump organization is selling hats that say Trump 2028.
Yeah.
Are you seriously considering a third term, Mr. President, even though it's prohibited by the Constitution? Or is this about staying politically viable?
I will say this. So many people want me to do it. I have never had requests so strong as that. But it's something that, to the best of my knowledge, you're not allowed to do. I don't know if that's constitutional that they're not allowing you to do it or anything else, but there are many people selling the 2028 hat. But this is not something I'm looking to do. I'm looking to have 4 great years and turn it over to somebody, ideally a great Republican to carry it forward. But I think we're going to have 4 years, and I think 4 years is plenty of time to do something really spectacular.
The Constitution does prohibit it. Some of your allies are pretty serious about this, though, Mr. President. I've spoken to them. They say they are coming up with potential ways.
Well,
obviously, the biggest one would be a constitutional amendment.
That's because they like the job I'm doing, and it's a compliment.
Has anyone in an official capacity presented you with, sir, here are some ideas by which you could actually get a constitutional amendment?
Well, in a capacity of being a big supporter, many people have said different things, but I'm not looking at that.
You have built a...
So, just talking about it creates waves. It has already destabilized things here in Canada. And he has said he's serious about it. It's not a joke. He's not joking. He's not joking about any of it. I don't think he ever really jokes, to be honest. I mean, he's funny sometimes, but when he posts things, when he says these things, no, we should be taking it very seriously. It keeps coming up. He keeps talking about it, Canada, annexation, 51st state. And you're seeing that he's had his fingerprints all over the separatist movement in Canada, dating back years now. And I've been showing you that in our reports. So his influence has been here, not just back into his first presidency, but even when he was out of office for 4 years, now back in. And his influence was maybe even heaviest into Canada in the back shadows while he wasn't president, in between his two presidencies. He keeps talking about it. Just talking about it, Donald, as the president, you know that it has impact. Every single thing you do, every syllable out of your mouth has great weight behind it because of the office that you occupy. But I'm not sure that you actually, honor the office. Let's go back and look what he did here yesterday. He's talking about the movie industry here today, but I want to show you again the AI generated image that he posted yesterday of himself as the Pope. And prior to doing this, he also stated publicly that he would like to be the Pope. He'd like to be it. He's not a Catholic, for starters. So here it is again. Here's his post on Truth Social from yesterday. No caption, doesn't say anything at all. But he doesn't need to because of the weight of the office that he carries. If he wasn't president and he did this, maybe it could be considered a joke. But as a president, when he does this, he's sending heavy-duty messages. What is this really all about? I spoke about this to some degree yesterday. And it is disgusting because it is making a mockery. He's mocking the church. He's mocking those who are in the process right now of mourning the loss of Pope Francis and in the process of selecting the next Pope. He's making a mockery of it. Why? Well, let me explain in a little bit more detail what I think is really going on. And this will be in the Substack article that I write. I've been talking about a greater worldwide war on liberalism. When I say liberalism, I don't mean like just the Liberal Party of Canada, not a party thing. I'm talking about liberalism, classical liberalism, and really progressivism, progressive liberalism in particular, but liberalism in general. This is the ideological foundation upon which all of Western society has been built. And it goes back to the philosophy of Alexander Dugin, which in Russia, which is the man known as Putin's brain. Heavily influential, very influential with Putin. And this is why you're seeing over there this march toward and to continue the Russian societal support for and and advocacy for traditional values, if you will, but not the Catholic Church, because and this philosophy extends over into, this is all about fourth political theory, which is what Dugin advocates for, political realism, and the march toward a new multipolar geopolitical reality, which is an affront to the liberal world order, which we have had since the end of World War II. This is the new world order. But they've been pointing their finger in the other direction and blaming, or saying, oh no, look, you have to be careful of those guys over there, those liberals. And saying that they're the ones who want the one world government, the new world order. In fact, it's coming from the other side. They've distracted you. Well, there's some truth to some of the criticisms that they level. They're in the process of trying to tear down all of Western society. They're in the process, at war with liberalism. The thing is, in the West, the progressives, the liberals, the classical liberals, people are confused because they don't even really know who or what their enemy actually is. They are sensing now that they're under attack, and they're beginning to realize that there is this war going on, but they haven't been able to understand it because they don't even know where it's originating from, let alone understanding who or what the enemy is. The enemy is multi-pronged. It's a new ideology that brings together the forces of fascism and communism, and has an overarching neo-populist ideology that also kind of blends in with libertarianism. They're finding allies across the political spectrum, with the exception of liberals and progressives. Same kind of thing, because the philosophy dictates that liberalism is itself self-destructive, which is why it deteriorates and results in, over time, the destruction of societies, the societies which it is dominant in, and you begin to see a decay of moral values. That's why the church is under attack. It's because Pope Francis was a progressive. Pope Francis was a liberal. Trump doesn't like him. People on the right don't like him. It's confusing to people, particularly in a secular society like ours, can't understand it, don't recognize the threat, because we've never seen this convergence of the left and the right, the communists and the fascists before. We're still in the mindset of, well, if someone's a fascist, they must be against the communists. If someone's a communist, they must be against the fascists. But no, we've seen just within the last few years the convergence of the two. And that is what Dugin says. He says that the only failure of communism in the past was that it failed to defeat liberalism, which is being characterized as Marxism, communism. They're framing it as but they're saying that liberalism and progressivism is Marxism, and that is how they target the enemy. And so they're blending the definitions and dehumanizing even those who are liberals or progressives within our society, so that they can be attacked as the enemy. Conflating liberalism with Marxism, when in fact they are the communists and the fascists coming together to fight this. And that's why you see the rise of the right worldwide, the so-called right, the hard to describe right, that and it's easy to deflect when people do not understand what the ideology is behind it. And they say, well, I'm not a fascist, or I'm not a communist, or maybe I am a communist, but I'm certainly not that. Well, that's because you're something new, or you're part of something new. I'll explain it in more detail in the Substack, which I should finish I'm doing, some pretty extensive research on it, and I've been working on it for a little while, but it plays right into this whole thing of Trump posting this image of himself as the Pope. Because what he's saying here is the church has no legitimacy. The church is vulnerable to mockery. It deserves to be mocked because you've had scandals, you've had sexual assault scandals that you've tried to sweep under the rug, that you've tried to hide. And because Pope Francis was a progressive, a liberal, they attack him. And that's why you saw so much friction within the church between Pope Francis and Archbishop Vigano, who also has come out very much in support of the I guess you would say the right, the political right around the world. And he certainly was supportive of like the Freedom Convoy, issuing that recorded and written message during the Freedom Convoy. But he's been basically, he's been pushed out of influence from within the church. Well, Pope Francis was the Pope. And what Donald Trump is doing is extending this war on liberalism. That's why he seems to be in alignment with Vladimir Putin, because they share this ideology that is being used to reshape the world, not into a one world government, but a multipolar geopolitical reality, a new multipolar geopolitical reality where they're in the process of trying to carve the world up into spheres of influence or dominance, with the United States ultimately getting its turf, if you will, in North America, Canada, Greenland, Mexico, USA, maybe below even into Central America, Panama, where the United States will just rule there. Russia will dominate, rule over Eurasia. That's the vision. And then China will have its sphere of influence added to Dugin's vision of the future. But to get there, Trump, Putin, even China, if they ultimately participate in this realignment, to get there, they have to tear down the institutions in the West. They have to convince people that these institutions, these liberal, progressive institutions, including our governments, especially our governments, are not legitimate, that they even don't really exist, that they're just guilty of hypocrisy, corruption, crimes against humanity even. And so they focus on every single pockmark, every flaw, every mistake, every vulnerability, everything they can focus on to criticize. And then they mock and they laugh. And that's why he posted this picture of himself as the Pope, because it's an assault on the church. And he's making a statement. I might as well be Pope. I'd be a better Pope. Nobody's done more for religion, he said the other day, than me. That's what Donald Trump said. And then he said also, just before he posted this, I would like to be the Pope, suggesting that he could be the Pope, even though he's not Catholic. He doesn't even qualify, but he might as well be. Criticizing the finances of the Vatican Bank, suggesting the hypocrisy there. And past popes in the past have been accused of and have been guilty of having lifestyles that have been lavish. Not so Pope Francis, who drove a simple car, didn't live in, the palace, lived in a modest home. And even though he oversaw the the budget of the Vatican, the bank account, if you will, and it was his responsibility to decide where the money would be spent. He actually lived a life of simplicity, owning very little, if anything, actually. As the Pope, everything he has doesn't really belong to him. He didn't really own any of it, taking vows not to live a life of opulence, though they could. And yet they are mocked. Pope Francis mocked. This is also why Donald Trump posted previously a picture of himself as the king. Because just like the church, the Catholic Church, he also was mocking the King of England, the crown. At the core of it, you've got the Q movement. You have a lot of the people on the right who also are opposed to the crown because they see it as this corrupt institution, colonialism. That's why he posted the picture of himself as the king. Again, not a joke. It's mockery. He's thumbing his nose at Britain. And in that, you also find its historical roots in 1776. For some reason, a lot of these people just can't let go of that. And that extends up into what is going on up here in Canada right now with this separatist movement and these people who keep trying to say that Canada is not a legitimate country. Oh, it's just a line, an artificial line that was drawn with a ruler. Canada doesn't exist. It's a myth. That's the lie. A provable lie. An obvious lie, if you just look at the functionality of the country in itself. It does exist. I'm living in it. I'm participating in it every day. The social contract exists between the people and the state here. A more legitimate country, I would say, than even the United States itself. But this is what's going on in Canada. Trump is fueling that, mocking the king, and that is why on the 27th of this month, the throne speech will be delivered by King Charles in Canada with the new Carney Liberal government. That's why the king is coming, because the country is facing an existential threat from this guy. And a lot of people saying, that that the king is coming for this reason or that reason or that reason or this reason. It's because of what I'm just telling you. It's sending a message directly to Donald J. Trump, the White House, and his followers, and those who would like to break up our country. It's sending a direct message, a message of sovereignty, not the kind of message that those who advocate for separatism in Alberta and the breakup of the country and the annexation of Canada by Donald Trump Incorporated. No, they'll say the appearance of the king just proves that Canada is not a real country because the king is coming. And he's asserting his dominance, his sovereignty over the land, over the people, showing, you see, I own Canada. And yet it is actually the opposite. What has really happened, which they fail to understand, is that Canada, as a sovereign country, our prime minister, who represents the people, not we the people, just the people, because we're not Americans. Mark Carney, criticized by his political opponents during the election for doing this, but as soon as he became prime minister, one of the first things he did was he went over to Britain and he met with the king. And now the king is coming. Not because the king owns Canada, but because the people, through Mark Carney, their elected representative, we are commanding a performance of the king, whose job it is to protect Canada to protect our rights, to protect our sovereignty. Our sovereignty. He's not coming because he wanted to come. He's coming because we have commanded a performance of the king. We've said, time for you to do your job, king. Earn your pay. And even as he battles cancer, King Charles will make an appearance in Canada on the 27th of this month to read the throne speech for our new elected, democratically elected government with representatives from across the political spectrum, because we are a true democracy. As true as any democracy in the world. Far more legitimate than what they have in the United States, because we have conservatives alongside liberals and New Democrats, socialists. And then in the wings, we have other political parties who also snipe from the sidelines. And we even allow separatists to have a voice on the floor of the House of Commons, because we allow dissent. Try that kind of language in the United States, and you'll end up in jail. Not so in Canada. The king doesn't own us. We don't need to rise up against the king. If you want to get rid of the monarchy, I've said it before, you don't need to get violent. You don't have to have a 1776 moment. All you have to do is ask. The king is not holding us to anything. Britain, the king, the monarchy, they've been letting countries go for a long time. And they have been, just within the last few years, other countries that were part of, the monarchy, they've given them their full sovereignty, completely decoupling. But right now, I think you're about to see the value in maintaining that relationship, that connection to the monarchy. We're commanding a performance. We're telling the king, not asking. We're saying, hey, king, please come. We need you. We're under attack. Time for you to remind our friend to the south that we actually have allies. We still have friends in the world. Unlike a certain president who in 100 days managed to alienate the entire bloody world. I'll be right back.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Earlier in that interview on Meet the Press today, which is making headlines. Oh, actually, you know what? I shouldn't show you that first, since we're still on the topic of Trump and his image of himself as the Pope. He was suggesting that this guy here it is. This is Catholic Cardinal Dolan. Trump has suggested he would make a good pope, but today asked about the image. This is what Cardinal Dolan had to say. A guy that Trump was promoting, and asked about this image. You can see the expression on his face already. He's not impressed with the Donald. I'll let it roll.
Non era buono. No.
Can you say that in English?
He asked me about the president appearing as the Pope. Yeah. I hope he didn't have anything to do with that.
Are you offended by that?
Well, it wasn't good. Gli italiani dicono una brutta figura.
Yeah, the way
Yeah, he's not impressed. And disappointed, I would say, is a very good word, because here you have a guy who, leader in the church in America, an ally of Trump's of sorts, and even he's just appalled. You can see. So, and Trump again, just through his arrogance and his lack of class, insulting even people that would otherwise be aligned with him. But here he is talking now on Meet the Press about the impact of his tariffs, his economic policies, which have been a disaster, regardless of the defense that people with true Trump derangement syndrome might run for him. Oh no, the tariffs are great. Everything's fantastic. Inflation's down. No. Some things are down, but some prices are down. But overall, you've got a big economic crisis on your hands. The stock market has been going up and down. You're getting layoffs in the auto industry. And he's just making up a lot of numbers, specifically with gasoline. But here we go again. Here's this section from the Meet the Press interview where he's talking about the economy.
Billions of dollars with China.
When you say they could have $3 instead of $30, are you saying Americans could see empty store shelves?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they don't need to have $30. They can have 3. They don't need to have 250 pencils. They can have 5.
But
he's saying you can do with less stuff from China, less consumer goods. So he recognizes here, he's admitting that his tariffs will result in higher prices for a lot of consumer goods. But he's saying he doesn't care. It's going to be worth it because you can live with less, pay more, just have less.
You're basically saying there could be some supply shortages because of the tariffs.
We don't have to waste money on a trade deficit with China for things we don't need, for junk that we don't need.
Well, prices are already
like pharmaceuticals and computers, batteries. The list goes on.
Going up on some popular items, tires, strollers.
This is such a dishonest interview already. Prices are down on groceries. Prices are down for oil. Prices are down for all energy. Prices are down at tremendous numbers for gasoline. And let me tell you, when you have the big thing, what he did, he spent like a stupid person, which he was, but he spent like a very stupid person. And that was bad for inflation. But what really killed us with inflation was the price of energy. It went up to $3.90, even $4, and in California, $5 and $6, right? Okay. I have it down to $1.98 in many states right now.
No, he doesn't. I'll show you again. I showed you yesterday. I'll show you again tonight. He's lying again. We'll go to the AAA map. It shows you the prices of gasoline in states all across the country. He's a liar. He is a great big fat liar. Show me gas anywhere in the country for $1.98. Washington, $4.25. Oregon, $3.89. California, $4.75. Colorado, $3.07. Oklahoma, $2.77. Missouri, $2.83. Ohio, $3.14. I don't know if there's any place. Maybe there is. I'm not seeing it. It says national retail prices. It summarizes them right over here on the right-hand side. A high of $4.77 to a low of $2.65. $3.01. $3.10 in New York. $3.01 in Virginia. 289 in North Carolina, 309 in Florida, 292 in Georgia, 274 in Texas. Oil-rich Texas, where you got Texas tea coming out your wazoo, and they have lots of cement ponds. Or I guess that where was the Clampett mansion? Well, actually, it was in California, but I don't know. They moved to California. I can't remember what state the Clampett homestead was on. 274, even in oil-rich Texas. 274. So what's 274 translate into? Let me just do the conversion here into Kanakistanian dollars. So if a Kanakistanian wanted to buy a gallon of gas in Texas, what was it, 274? So if you bought that in Kanakistan, that would be $3.79 Canadian a gallon. That price per liter would work out to $1 a liter. So even down in oil-rich Texas land, you'd be paying $1 a liter. Canadian, and approximately. So does that mean you're much better off, really? Because what is the current price of gasoline here in Kanakistania land today? Well, where I live right now, it's a little bit more expensive, I think. It usually is $1.36. In my community right now tonight. I just looked it up. Although you could get it for as low as down the highway, just about 20 minutes, half an hour from where I live, for $1.15. Yeah, that's down closer to Windsor Way in the community of Leamington. $1.15 per liter. So it depends on where you go in the country, but there is the difference. So even in oil-rich Texas, where our friends in Alberta, our separatist friends, kind of look for, an idea of where things could be if things could be so much better. Okay, so yeah, we're paying, 15 cents a liter more for gasoline than they would be in the United States. Maybe 30 cents a liter more. So let's break up the country for that. Okay. It blows my mind. Can people not do the math? It ain't so bad up here, really. It was worse a little while ago, $1.60 a liter. That's substantially more, I'd say, and that's too much. Hopefully Mark Carney just doesn't take us back there. We will see. Let's give him a chance as he gets ready to move to the U.S. of A. Or go to the U.S. of A. on, I think it's Tuesday. I think that's the day that they had set aside. Listening to Trump, though, obviously wasn't sure what day. But let's continue this interview where he's talking about the economy.
When you go that much lower on energy, which is ahead of my prediction, because I really thought I could get it down into the 250s. We have it down at $1.98 in numerous places.
No, you don't.
But when you say costs are going up, even mortgage rates are going down.
Well, but let me give you some examples. These are actual examples. So you're saying the prices that are going down, some prices are going up. Tires, strollers, some clothing in the wake of your tariffs.
Excuse me, that's peanuts compared to energy. Energy is 60% of the cost.
But sir, you campaigned,
you
campaigned on a promise to bring prices down on day
Well, I don't know. When you say strollers are going up, what kind of a thing? I'm saying that gasoline is going down. Gasoline is thousands of times more important than a stroller someplace.
But what do you say to Americans who say they voted for you because they want and they need relief right now?
And they're getting it.
right now? What about those
even mortgage rates?
different items I just
mortgage
mentioned?
rates are going down, despite the fact that we have a stubborn Fed.
But you said even dolls could cost a couple bucks more.
Maybe they might, but you don't need to have, as I said, $35. You can have 2, 3, 4, and save a lot of money. We don't need to feed the beast.
I guess you're talking about this transition cost. How long should people expect that transition to last, Mr. President?
I can't tell you that. I can tell you that we're making a lot of money. We're doing great. Again, we're losing more than $5 billion a day. $5 billion a day. You don't talk about that. And right now, we're going to be at a point very soon where we're making money every day. Look.
How soon?
We were losing hundreds of billions of dollars with China. Now we're essentially not doing business with China. Therefore, we're saving hundreds of billions of dollars. Very simple.
You take me to my next question, which is about China. They've been making a number of public statements.
Very positive statements the last 24 hours.
Well, and most recently, they said before talks could happen, the U.S. would need to remove unilateral tariffs. Would you consider dropping the tariffs to get China to the negotiating table?
No. First of all, you're giving me a statement that was said a week ago. You're not giving the statement that was said today.
I have May 2nd Chinese Commerce Ministry.
Do you know what they said today?
The U.S. wants to negotiate. It should show sincerity by preparing to take actions in correcting its mistakes and canceling the unilateral tariffs.
They made... First of all, they made numerous statements.
Yes, they've made numerous statements.
How many people speak for China? It's like 50
they've made numerous statements.
I can give you a statement for any occasion.
Yes.
But they said today they want to talk. Look, China, and I don't like this. I'm not happy about this. China's getting killed right now. They're getting absolutely destroyed. Their factories are closing. Their unemployment is going through the roof. I'm not looking to do that to China. Now, at the same time, I'm not looking to have China make hundreds of billions of dollars and build more ships and more army tanks and more airplanes.
So you're not, just to be very clear, you're not dropping the tariffs against China to get them to the negotiating table. Those tariffs are staying on.
Why would I do that?
Would you lower them?
At some point, I'm going to lower them because otherwise you could never do business with them.
Yeah.
And they want to do business very much. Look, their economy is really doing badly. Their economy is collapsing.
So small businesses say they are being hurt by the Chinese tariffs, and some could be forced to shut down.
And many businesses are being helped.
Are you considering tariff relief for small businesses?
Why do you always mention that, you pick up a couple of little businesses? What about the car business? They're going to make a fortune because of the tariffs. Do you know that the union, the head of the union, who was no fan of mine, Sean Fain, I guess his name is, right? He didn't endorse me. The Teamsters did. A lot of people did. A lot of unions did. But he didn't. He couldn't stand me. Now he's saying, wow, what Trump's done for the automobile, I can't believe it. I assume he's going to probably now say the next thing he can say is, I endorse this guy. He's the greatest I've ever seen. He can't believe it's happened. He said, we've been waiting 40 years for somebody to do what Trump is doing. So why don't you mention the big car industry instead of mentioning somebody that's doing strollers?
Well, I'm just asking you about small businesses. Are there any discussions about giving any relief to small businesses?
They're not going to need it.
Okay.
They're going to make so much money.
Are these tariffs?
If you build your product here. Remember, there are no tariffs if you build your product here. It's very easy. It's very simple.
Are these tariffs permanent, Mr. President?
Depends on what you're talking about. One of the things that is going to bring and has brought... So I think we probably have close to $9 trillion of investments coming into this country. If you look at other presidents, there's never been anything like that. This is over a period of 2 months. You got to give me a little break on the 1 month because we're 3 months. But, let's say we had to get started. We had a lot of fake news at the beginning, so we had to beat that down. But so let's say in 2 months. So in just a short period of time, a matter of a couple of months, we have the largest number ever in history invested in the United States and committed. We have.
All right. Let's pause that. The United States doesn't subsidize us at all. If you want to look at the military side of things, I mean, that's a separate issue. We give access, we provide access to the North. The United States needs access. I get it. Yeah, Canada should be spending more on NATO. No question about it. These tariffs, though, they're costing the United States more than, and will cost the United States more than people realize, especially over the long run. Let me give you an example. You see, Trump has violated, oh my God. Jeez. Oh my God. This just popped up. I have to run this, I guess. Let me just, I hope it, I just lost it. I just lost it. This is a new AI video with Trump. Let me see if I can find it for you again. Well, I'll see if I can get it before the end of the broadcast. Okay, what was I going to show you? All right. The gripping for Canada. So we've seen Saab step up their promotion of their 5th generation fighter. And I've been just swamped with these posts, this campaign for the Saab 39 Gripen from Sweden. A whole bunch of them, constant. Ever since all this annexation talk started. And the reason is the 5th generation fighter jet purchase program that Canada has been involved with the United States is now being reviewed. So we might not follow through with the entire contract. It looks like Canada is looking for other options. And the most obvious alternative to the F-22 is the Gripen. And they are pumping it here. And what I'm seeing, and most notably what has been one of the main selling tools, is that instead of buying the F-35, if you buy the Gripen, you're getting what they're calling sovereignty over the tech. In other words, you're not going to be entirely dependent on the United States for the technology that is built into the fighter jet. And that's important because what you saw in Ukraine when Trump allowed them to turn off the intelligence, the surveillance systems by satellite to Ukraine, which ultimately resulted in Ukrainian forces being pushed out of Kursk because they were left blind, high and dry by the United States and the Trump administration. That also sent a chill through the defense community and the allies and all of NATO. And now Canada is like, well, maybe we better not buy the F-35 because if we do, we'll be dependent on U.S. technology. They could turn the fighter jets off on us at any moment. No trust. How can you buy a fighter jet from the U.S. if you can't even be sure that the company or the government that you bought them from can render them neutered, useless, turn them into paperweights with the flip of a switch because they can, they have a back door into your software, making them useless. And yeah, we're seeing a lot of people here advocating for it, promoting it, supporting it, switching to the Gripen. And that's, I'd say, the number one alternative and the big selling point, Canada would be under complete control over these jets. Even though it's can be integrated into NATO, this Eurofighter would be under complete Canadian control, hence sovereign control, which would further assert Canada's true national sovereignty and reduce Canadian dependence on its relationship, not just with trade, but also defense in the United States. So I hope you're okay with that, Donald, because your military industrial complex looks like you're about to lose a pretty big contract for a bunch of jets, probably not just from Canada, but over time, other countries as well. And I'm very sorry, my American friends, I don't want it to be that way. Never saw this coming, but that's not me. That's what's going on around the world right now because of the man in the White House who is miscalculating. So be careful, Canadians, what you wish for. Those of you who want to join the United States, you may find yourselves behind a wall. Yeah. You know, there was the fall of the Berlin Wall, and people rejoiced and cheered for freedom as the wall came down, and we saw the fall of the Soviet Union and ultimately the reunification of Germany and the end of oppression, we thought. Those years after the end of World War II, and then we marched into a future where we sit here today, and now we see really new walls being built up all around the United States. America first, which really does mean building up walls around the U.S. The question is, are the walls being built to keep the rest of the world out or to keep all of you in? And if you join, will you be behind that wall as well? Will you be isolated and alone? Isolated from the rest of the world? I don't want to be. It's a real question. It's a real concern. And to quote Joe Biden, that's not hyperbole, man. More to come.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching.
The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
I'm back. Let me see, what else have I got going on? Oh, yes. Two things. Then we're going to go to the phones tonight. Let me show you this. I'm going to get to Queen Danielle in just a moment. But first, We'll be able to talk. Yes, we will. We will talk about Ukraine for just a moment. I just need to get my notes here. Oops. My fingers don't work as well as they used to. Here we go. No aid, no problem. Ukraine's engineers hit Russia 7,000 times with homegrown tech. Yeah, check this out. This is how Ukraine is responding to the problem with the relationship with the United States. No aid, no problem. Ukraine's engineers hit Russia 7,000 times with homegrown tech. What they're talking about here in this Euromaidan article is the creation of really a homegrown industry, drone production, 700 miles inside Russia, fire raised down on a factory that once built the drones used to kill Ukrainian civilians. In seconds, 264,000 tons of ammunition erupt in a single deafening blast, derailing Russia's summer offensive before it begins. Strategic drone strikes slash Kremlin oil profits by 10%, dragging production to its lowest point in 2 decades. One force is powering every one of these breakthroughs, Ukraine's homegrown tech. We've talked a little bit about this before with Mike Pekarik. This was sent to me. He sent me this link, and it just highlights what's been going on there, largely because they knew that that things were maybe not stable with the U.S. relationship. So it says here, 3 years into the full-scale invasion, the hunted has become a hunter. Moscow's military planners now wake to urgent calls about facilities they thought untouchable, destroyed by weapons that didn't exist last year. While Western aid remains crucial, Ukraine is no longer waiting. In just 2 years, domestic arms production has soared tenfold, now covering 40% of frontline needs, a game-changing shift the Trump administration has yet to fully appreciate. Former Defense Minister Alexei Reznikov dubbed it Ukraine's Silicon Valley moment, a wartime tech surge where engineers turn garages into weapons labs and outpace a superpower in real time. He argues the smartest way to secure Europe isn't more aid, but joint ventures that turn Ukraine's defense boom into a shared arsenal, the continent's best insurance policy. The fiercest arms sprint since World War II. Ukraine's breakneck innovations rival America's World War II military buildup, only this time it's done with a fraction of the resources and under direct attack. Nor in Ukraine's defense transformation, or is Ukraine's defense transformation more visible than in its drone sector. And we're going to get somebody on here to talk about these drones, the technology, and the expansion of this arms production within Ukraine in the next week or so. Once reliant on crowd-funded models, what began as a grassroots effort in 2014 has evolved into full-scale production. By late 2023, nearly 40% of frontline weapons were domestically made. In 2024 alone, Ukraine produced 1.5 million drones, with over 95% of those used at the front now built at home. Wow. That is massive expansion in production. And again, necessity is the mother of invention. Kamikaze drones lead the charge among the 330 drone models approved in 2024. Ukraine has quadrupled production of long-range strike drones, now aiming to surpass 2,000 units per month, a tenfold increase in just 2 years. And they talk about the different kinds of drones that are being produced, some of them larger, some of them smaller, and they've even developed now reusable drones, which are designed to deliver payloads and then return back so the drone can be reused. So Ukraine is actually on the cutting edge of the tip of the spear, as they say, in the development of this technology. They've been ahead of Russia every step of the way. Russia kind of catching up now, from what I understand. But it's a very interesting and, I would say, consequential development. And it also just shows these people who have been saying over and over again, the Ukraine is done, they can't win, they're entirely reliant on the U.S. for aid. Well, we've seen now years in that they're not giving up, and it hasn't been easy. And now this. Food for thought tonight. And now on to Queen Danielle. Oh my goodness. Okay. This blows my mind. And thank you, Brian Howlett, for sending. Not aware of this story, but our separatist premier, Danielle Smith, her mask is coming off too. Not only are we realizing that she's still a separatist, always has been, she also has pretty lavish taste. Unlike Pope Francis, I guess she's just not averse to spending money on herself. I guess she's got tender tootsies. She needs nice soft carpet. So she recarpeted her office. You know how much it costs? $280,000. No wonder she doesn't want to cough up those equalization payments. She needs to pay off her carpet. Here's a report on CTV about it.
The spending habits of Alberta's premier are being questioned tonight. A new carpet in her office at the legislature cost $250,000.
What?
CTV's Amanda Anderson reports.
Now it's being reported her out-of-control spending is spilled into her own office with a carpet renovation that would make former Premier Redford blush.
This is what has former UCP, now independent MLA Scott Sinclair seeing red. A brand new carpet at the Alberta legislature in the office of the Premier.
Do you think spending $250,000 to roll yourself out on a red carpet every day is a responsible way of spending taxpayers' money when you run Trudeau-style deficits?
The Premier's office tells CTV News the carpet and installation cost just over $200,000. But when the old carpet was pulled out, hazardous material was found, resulting in another $78,000 for removal and abatement. The total cost for this new look, about $280,000.
For carpet?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot of money, for sure. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is expensive, especially nowadays when you're saving every penny of you are earning to just buy groceries.
So I think it's important, first of all, to acknowledge that part of the cost here was for removal of hazardous materials, as I understand it. But once that's accounted for, we're still talking about around $205,000, and that breaks down to about $32 plus a square foot.
Laurie Williams, a policy studies professor at Mount Royal University, says the carpet itself is not enough to create a scandal, but it doesn't help the UCP's image when it comes to recent spending habits.
If you get enough stories about large expenditures look like they're bigger than they need to be, you get a series of those, and that starts to raise questions about effective stewardship of tax dollars.
The province says the carpet was 20 years old with rips and stains. What it has not yet said is who did the work. The tender for the job was sent by invitation because of security concerns.
It might raise questions about whether this might be an excessive expenditure.
Amanda Anderson, CTV News, Edmonton.
$280,000 so that Queen Danielle can give herself the red carpet treatment. Yeah, who's kidding who now? So much deception, so many lies from those who keep pointing and saying they're lying. Oh, look, excessive spending. Oh, they're guilty of this, they're guilty of that. Yeah, look in the mirror, man, and be careful. Be careful what you're convinced to do. Be careful what you choose, my Alberta family. Wow. Do you want to call in? Yeah, you want to call in? How about you? Oh, yeah, California. Right. Here's the number to call. Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Exercise your right to free speech. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you. Okay, I'm back. Oop, hang on. All right. Almost fired another video there that I didn't want to fire. Okay. So, yeah, you can call in, join the conversation. I'll put the number up on the bottom of the screen. John won't call in from Alberta because he's mad at me. But we love you, John. I'm going to convince you to call back in because you're my friend. And you're not allowed to be mad at me anymore. You have to call in. Maybe not tonight. I'm working on them. Trying to mend those fences. Yeah. John, call in, John. It'll be okay. Join now by phone at 1-647-734-4220. Then you have to punch that PIN number in to enter the conference call online. The PIN number is 860-075-764. I'm going to leave that number scrolling on the bottom of the screen, 1-647-734-4220. That's how you can join the conversation tonight. I'll leave that up. Phone lines are now open. We're ready to rock and roll. Since John probably won't call in tonight because he's mad at me, we're going to have to start tonight with somebody else. I'm not sure who we've got on the line. Okay, who's joining us now? Oh, hang on, Dragon. I'm trying to get you on here. Hang on, I've got you. Now we're ready to go. Go ahead, Mr.
Well, you got yourself that beautiful dragon as a Trump trying to impersonate himself as, I don't know, what are you going to say? I'm probably an antichrist now.
Yes, that's right. A lot of people think that Donald Trump is the Antichrist. I heard that during his first presidency. That a lot of people still believe that.
Well, look, I'm not a super Bible guy. I'm probably not practicing my my faith much, but I will tell you this. To me, it's a farce. The way that he speaks, the way that he does the thing, accordingly to religious belief, mostly the Christians one, he's been trespassing a lot of those for the last few months.
Yeah, and Peach Rose says, yeah, I want John to call in so I can call him names and boot him again. Maybe. Maybe if he starts talking like a traitor again, Peach Rose, for me, just like you. Yeah, I've been watching you in the chat, and you leave lots of toxic comments about me, so fair is fair. Yeah, I saw your comments yesterday that you left after the show. I responded in a constructive way. Yeah, well, sometimes people deserve to get booted, especially when they say when they get off on a bad track. I'm not averse to it.
But I mean, John, come on, you gotta go. You gotta call back. I mean, we got that beautiful, blood thing between us from Quebec and Alberta
That's
thing.
right.
because I rip you so much.
Yes, that's right. That's really one of the main reasons I kicked him off the show the other night, is because we were starting to go down that road again, and I'm just tired of hearing about it. No, Quebec is ripping us off. Hey, Dragon, are you enjoying our oil money out there?
I'm still waiting for the check, bro.
Oh my. Oh, actually, you know what? There was this other story, Dragon. I didn't actually share it with you. Couple of things related to that. The Premier, Danielle Smith out in Alberta, is trying to grow their heritage fund by $250 billion. And this is because the province is on this like roller coaster ride of fiscal instability, because it is resource based, and we've seen as well, that this coming year, Alberta is destined to have like a pretty major budget deficit. I'm reluctant to give you the number off the top of my head, but it's substantial, and the interest payments alone. I did the calculations on this. The interest payments alone on the debt that Alberta owes will amount to, on a per capita basis, about equal to what Alberta pays in equalization payments. And that's significant, especially when you consider that the Premier is there spending $280,000 on carpet, while saying that they need to kind of rein in spending. There was also that other story about the federal government sending some money back for healthcare to, what was the story? The federal government sending money back to Albertans for healthcare to offset some costs. And then, so Danielle Smith turned around and clawed that money back on the provincial side so that Albertans won't get any actual relief. It'll cancel out the amount of money that the federal government is pumping back into the pockets of Albertans. That was another big thing just within the last couple of weeks. I spoke about that on the show briefly the other night. So, and one other thing, and I hope I'm being clear about this stuff, because this is just all off the top of my brain. What was I going to say? You go ahead and talk for a second while I rekindle my thoughts. I got a little jumbled up.
Well, you're just describing something shady down here. I mean, that's not the kind of thing I think a premier should be doing to a certain extent, because, you got to pay back your debt.
Well, it just shows that as much as, it was the equalization payments. I said the other night that Alberta was sending about $12 billion a year to Quebec in equalization payments. And then I did further research just in the course of doing research. And what I found is that number is not actually accurate. I was taking that number from a separatist source who is pumping that number out there. And that's not even true. The true number appears to be somewhere between 3.7 and 4.2 billion a year in total equalization payments from Alberta. The entire program federally is around $29 billion. And Ontario contributes far more than double, at about almost $11 billion a year, than what Alberta contributes to equalization payments. And because Alberta has these roller coaster rides of boom and bust out there because of the oil industry, Albertans better take note of that, because it's not always the case that, the oil industry is booming. At times, you hit slumps, and that's because Alberta, if the price of oil dips below a certain level in world pricing, it doesn't even become viable for Alberta to extract the oil from the oil sands, because that process is very expensive. So that oil from the Alberta front is not even competitive at times. It depends on what the world price is. You're dependent on that. So you get these boom and bust cycles out there. You even get it down in places like Texas. So keep that in mind, because at some point in the not too distant future, Alberta might end up being on the receiving end of those equalization payments. Just saying. Who's on the line now? We've got a new caller calling in. Hello. Go ahead.
Hello, Rick. How are you?
Great. Who's this?
It's Chris, and I'm not sure if you want me to call in to talk to you or not.
You are welcome to call in, Chris. Welcome.
The main reason I'm calling you is I just wanted to clarify. You know, when you just talked about that money coming from the federal government?
Yeah. In fact, it was you who sent me that link the first time.
Yeah. So what it is, it apparently it's disability top up from the federal government to everybody that's on disability across the country of $200 to top up on what you make a month, right?
Right. That's right.
Okay. So in Alberta, which is the only province, Daniel Smith is going to deduct $200 from everybody's check so that we're not further ahead. So basically, the province is going to benefit from the federal government and not people on disability. And there's a big rally coming up on May the 6th for the people on disability. It's been on the news. People are quite upset with what she's doing. It's not her money to touch.
Right. Yeah. Well,
and I tell you what's going on out here is she's crazy, Daniel Smith. And I probably a lot of people aren't going to like that, but she is flip-flopping all over the map.
Yeah.
One day she's buddies with Carney. The next day she wants to separate. They had this big rally yesterday in Edmonton to separate, and people are angry. And then you got the Native people are going, no, you can't separate because you're on our land. And now they're fighting. And it's just crazy what's going on out here.
Yeah.
I'm actually tired of it. I'm really just tired of it. You know what? The election was the election. We'll deal with it now, however we have to.
Yes.
We may not like it, but I mean, people don't realize you just don't get up and separate a province. It's like Quebec, right? Remember when they were trying to separate Dragon?
Sure do, yeah.
Right? It's hard. You don't just get up and do that. And people don't understand, like, what about your health care? What about everybody getting CPP pensions and old age pensions from the federal government? What happens? That money is just going to stop. So who's going to pay these people? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's and I want to apologize. I want to apologize to you, to Dragon, to Isabel, and to Remby John. I was caught up in such a with everything going on. I just was just going out of my mind.
I know.
So I have to apologize for that text. And you know what? I'm not mad at you that you called me out and read that night. I'm not mad at all.
Thank you. And you know what? I've never really been mad at you. I really haven't been. And I wish you would put me back on Rumble Chat because I'm banned. You got it.
Yeah,
I'll make
I've
sure
been
that
banned
happens.
for. I don't want to. I mean, I'm not going to shit disturb or nothing in your chat, but you know, I'd like to say hi to and stuff like that, and talk to Dragon and stuff too, right? So, yeah. So that's kind of the two reasons I called in, was to apologize, to let you. Oh, and by the way, we have our first wildfire out here.
Oh boy.
Ooh. Okay.
Well, it's that season. It happens every year. It does.
But you know what's weird is the fire is only about 20 kilometers from where my son is living now.
Oh my. Wow.
And if it goes north, it could take out his little town. I remember he was the one that was in Swan Hills that he had to evacuate that time before.
Yeah. Well,
I wish you to not have to evacuate at all.
No, we're hoping it'll take off to the south, to the southeast. So, but as of right now, there's no evacuation orders, but everybody's on standby. So I just thought I'd tell you that, but I won't hold you up, Rick, because I'm sure you have other callers. But I just wanted to fill you in on that disability, how that's working.
Okay, and I'll make sure that we give you the red carpet treatment, and back into the chat you go. Thank you, Chris.
Oh, that red carpet, what a joke. All right. Talk to you later.
Thank you. See ya.
Bye, guys.
And we do have another caller on the line. Who's there with us today?
I think so.
It's Isabel.
Isabel,
And
how
Chris.
are you?
Chris, it's okay, Chris. We all go through shit. Trust me.
We do. There's so much. And I have to say a couple of things just related to that. There are people out there who are doing it to you intentionally. They are getting you upset on purpose. Just don't let them. Stay grounded. It was an election, okay? It's a temporary thing. These politicians, they come and they go. Nothing is permanent, not even Donald Trump. It's going to go. It'll be gone. We just have to get through the next 4 years with him. If you don't like Carney, we just have to get through maybe not even a year, because we'll probably be back at the polls sooner than anybody expects. Don't let people drive you crazy. These are not permanent things. That's the great thing about having an actual democracy. You get to vote. And we do have choice. We really, truly do. Look at all the parties you can vote for. The thing is, though, whatever is decided in the election by the people, we have to honor that. We have to respect it, because that's what democracy is putting up with crap you don't like in order to keep the peace. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. If you lose, try again. That's what democracy is. That's the bottom line. And I might not be happy. You might not be happy, but we accept the outcome. Fair enough?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you know what? Like you said, as long as I pick up your garbage. Me, so long as I wake up in the morning, I'll deal with what I get.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Yep.
I do though. I've been thinking like Chris too, when they say separate. I mean, I understand what we went through in Quebec because I was a teenager at that time. No fault of Dragons. It's not your fault, Dragons. But when they separate like that, they're going to lose their CPP that they've paid into.
Maybe. Probably.
I mean, do they realize that, these people?
Yeah.
What's
the U.S. government going to step up and give you your pension? Are you going to lose your CPP? These are all questions that would have to be resolved. Or is Danielle Smith going to cough it up? Out of what? Out of the provincial, like where's it going to come from?
I got another one for you. I mean, for example, we have spoken about people on welfare and disabilities. What's going to happen to them when the U.S. take over Canada? I mean, are we going to be able to get those payment every month for those who can't work? Is those tomorrow morning going to decide that all that money is not good spend, and all you should guys do something out of your life kind of shit, and get you on a non-payment for a month? How are you going to end up on street?
Definitely. I mean, my daughter is on disability because she has Crohn's. So nobody wants to hire somebody with Crohn's.
Yep.
So what happens to somebody like that? And I mean, she's not even 40 years old yet. So yeah, I mean, people are not thinking. They're looking at this Dumbo in the States and going, oh, what a great idea. We'll get this and we'll get that. Wake up. And like I see people in the chat going, he's done a lot for Christianity. Yeah, he's putting it in the toilet.
Oh my God. I've been looking at it pretty deeply in the last 2 days, researching this article, and he hasn't. Certainly not for the Catholic Church, but he is finding alliances sort of with the extreme Christian right. There's that, but what he's really doing in a way is integrating the church and the state, which I don't really like, to be quite frank. I think there should be some separation of church and state, only saying that through our Constitution, there's an acknowledgement that our rights do come from a higher place, God. But that being said, it doesn't stipulate that it's necessarily a Christian God. It doesn't have to be a denominational God at all. We're connected to any particular faith, just that it's from a higher place, that it's not coming from a person. But when Donald Trump or any politician dresses up like the Pope and portrays themselves as a deity and says things like, nobody's done more for religion than me. and they have this messianic complex, a God complex, I get really worried, especially when people start following that person as though they are some divine being.
Like, remember when I said back and I thought that was all staged with the shooting?
Yeah.
He started back then that, you know, God had saved him for a reason.
Yeah.
I kind of maybe going down the rabbit hole, but I'm like, wait a minute. Is this the brainwashing technique? Because I'm sure if that guy was a good enough shot, it would have really hit target. And he came out of that like he was, and I mean, we all got fooled by that, right?
Yeah,
pretty well.
I don't know what, you know, it's so weird. And for
And
him,
now he's coming out as the Pope. I'm like, oh, give me a break.
Yeah.
Like, where are the people? Like, you've seen the one cardinal in New York, and yes, he was a backer of Trump. He was not impressed.
No.
I mean, this is not Halloween. You're a leader of a country, and you profess, you know, one of the strongest countries in the world. I don't know what book you're reading it from, but not my book, Trump. And then you come out like this and make a fool of a service that you just went to.
Yeah.
Like, wow. And he was dressed in a blue suit, not black. So he had to stand out. So again, he needed, you know, look at me, look at me. Because everybody else at the funeral was dressed in black.
But it doesn't matter what he does. The Trump tards, they just find an excuse for everything. It's like he's always excused. And then, like, even in the chat, the messages yesterday on yesterday's show, somebody comes out and TDS much in response to the things I was saying yesterday about him, you know, with dressing up like the Pope in that image. Like, for crying out loud, I'm not the one with TDS, okay? It's you, dude. It's you. You're the one with Trump derangement syndrome because you can't see past your nose to see reality. It's right in front of your face.
Yeah.
This is
Have you
disgusting.
seen this? Have you seen the post from Ben Shapiro?
No.
On Trump.
The Pope from
Ben Shapiro used to be, you know, kind of like he liked Trump.
Yeah.
But he came out against Trump. I believe it was on Facebook. He did a post and he's like, oh, you don't need Canada. You don't need anything that Canada's got. But you need their lumber. You need their oil. You need this, and he's coming out against Trump in that one video. And I went, well, I've always liked Ben Shapiro because he's very straightforward. He knows what he's talking about. And he's got his shit together.
Yeah.
But I always thought he was on the side of Trump, but not during this one.
And listen to this. Here he is from this Meet the Press interview again, talking about due process.
Your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr. President?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
Well, the Fifth Amendment says.
I don't know. It seems it might say that, but if you're talking about that, then we'd have to have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million trials. We have thousands of people that are some murderers and some drug dealers and some of the worst people on earth. Some of the worst, most dangerous people on earth. And I was elected to get them the hell out of here, and the courts are holding me from doing it.
But even given those numbers that you're talking about, don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president?
I don't know. I have to respond by saying again, I have brilliant lawyers that work for me.
Your Secretary of
Unbelievable. Like,
I don't know.
I don't know if I have to uphold the Constitution. I don't know if everyone is entitled to due process. These are just the most basic, simple things. And if you don't,
and she's not letting anything slide. Like, she's really good in that interview.
Yeah, I thought so. My God, I don't know if I have to uphold the Constitution as president of the United States. What the hell is that? And I'm sorry, but you know, these people, again, who have been defending him, because this is an issue that I've been hammering on. You know, this is fun. This is core to our principles here as Mavericks. free speech, upholding people's rights. Everyone is entitled to due process, even illegal immigrants within the United States. And the reason you have to make sure that even an illegal immigrant, even a murderer, someone who's committed the most heinous of crimes, the reason you have to make sure they receive their due process is not to protect their rights, it's to protect your rights. Because if you don't get due process, then nobody has to be given due process. It shows that the state can then just arbitrarily suspend habeas corpus, suspend due process. Don't even have to take you before a judge where you then get to face your accuser and be told even what your crime is. It just then comes down to, through the authority of Donald J. Trump, he gets to be, they'll deputize a sheriff or an ICE agent, and they come along and they say, I don't like your tattoo. I don't like your skin color. I don't like the way you smell. Whatever, I don't like your haircut. That's it. You're out of here. I'm the judge, jury, and executioner. No due process. Off to a life sentence in the prison in El Salvador for you, pal. But if they pick somebody who's innocent, a U.S. citizen, and they do that, and there's evidence that it has happened already, then the whole system falls apart. That's why you have to make sure that everybody's entitled to due process, because it's about not protecting the criminals. It's about protecting U.S. citizens. It's about protecting you.
Well, there was a girl, she just posted on TikTok, a young mother. They came into her house at 5 o'clock in the morning. Guns pulled, ISIS and FBI, and rousted everybody out, the children out of their beds. She was facing down a gun barrel. Yeah. She is a citizen. She just moved from one area, I don't know, say like Milwaukee to Missouri, I don't know, but she just moved there. Yep. Rented the house. She'd only been there a few months, and it was the wrong address. Her husband was at work. Her kids were terrified. She had 3 little kids under 10 years old, petrified out of their minds. And she's like, I'm a citizen. I have a passport. You've got the wrong house. Yeah. She said handcuffed and frisked, and then they went through the house and they ripped the place apart. She's devastated. Her children will never get over this. And wrong house. But it's okay because Donald Trump said so.
But it's not okay. And that's like, it doesn't matter, Donald, if it's 2 million, 5 million, 20 million, 100 million. If you're going to go down this road, and don't get me wrong, if you've got a murderer in the country illegally, they should be deported. No question. Yeah. But it doesn't matter. If you have 1 million murderers, every single one of those people need to be given due process, and you need to come up with a process to make sure they get their due process. That's your job. It is your job to uphold the Constitution. That's what I was saying a long time ago. Yep. I said, if he follows through with this mass deportation program, what's that actually going to look like? I was asking the question a long time ago, but of course, here now we know. Here's what it looks like. They just send out the agents, round them up, throw them on a plane, and take them out of the country, and that's the end of that. And you wait. The United States will pay for this with the stain on its reputation again, because there will be crimes, revealed as a result of this. You'll see prisoner abuse, all kinds of heinous things that will come back to haunt the United States in the years ahead because of what's going on today. All of it really being hidden by this administration. You'll see.
And to sit there and say, I don't know.
I don't know.
How can you say you don't know? You're the head of the country that's to enforce this.
He's the president. It's his job to know. He better damn well know. That's the thing.
Yeah, he does, but he's too busy playing dress up.
Or if he doesn't, then he has no business sitting there in that position, in that job.
Exactly. I just thought I would pop in and say hi. I see John's not on tonight, so he doesn't like us.
Well, he does. He's just a little upset with me, and I understand why. But, there are reasons why we do what we do, and we'll smooth things over. We love you, John, and we want you back because even though you're a little misguided right now, you are a great Canadian and you are an important part of the Maverick family. And we want you to call in and be part of everything as usual. So it's going to be
Can we
okay.
go back to agree to disagree?
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Yeah, but but there are limits.
Have a nice
There are
night,
limits.
you guys.
Yeah. Thank you, Isabel.
Bye-bye,
Thank you
Dragon.
very
Bye,
much.
Rick.
See ya.
Bye, Isabel.
Okay, Dragon, it's getting near the top of the hour here. So what we're going to do is I have a special thing, a special thing from Sandy Sunshine tonight that we're going to share at the very end of the program. And this is going to be sort of a thing that we do from time to time. And it's going to be a surprise for everybody. And it's wonderful. It is just so great. You guys are going to love this. So don't go away because right after Dragon's final thought, we're going to play Sandy Sunshine as part of our wrap up for tonight. So go ahead, Sir Dragon, and give us a final thought for the evening.
Well, to John, like Isabel said, I like to disagree and agree sometime with you, my friend. So please call back. I mean, I'm still your good friend. And for everyone that does disagree with me, well, I still love you all, guys. So, you just have to call in and go read Rick Walker's Substack. It's very enlightening. I think you're going to love it. And I think it needs to be propped a little bit because there's not so many readers. So go read it.
Yeah, well, it's a new thing. So we're just building up the subscription list for that. And I will have a new one that will be coming out within, like I said, the next day or two. I want to make sure that the research on it is thorough and it'll cast a little more context onto Donald Trump's AI-generated image of himself as the Pope. Give you a lot more depth. Anyway, thank you, Dragon, for tonight. Yeah, fantastic call as always, and we look forward to the next one. And the next one now is from our own Sandy Sunshine, her closing comment for this evening. And I'll be right back after we hear from Sandy.
Hello, my Maverick News family. It's Sandy Sunshine, here to sprinkle a little hope as we wrap up today's program. Lately, there's been a lot of chatter about separatism, folks feeling frustrated after the federal election, with some even talking about going it alone. I get it. It's tough. We feel unheard. But let me tell you why Canada's better when we stick together. From the Rockies to the mountains, from the Rockies to the Maritimes, we are a family diverse, strong, and unstoppable. When we work as one, our shared health care, our trade that keeps us thriving, and our history standing tall against challenges, like facing down trade threats from the South. So, what can we do united? Think of the Calgary Stampede, cheering alongside Quebec's Winter Carnival. How we all rally for Team Canada when we face off against our American friends. Here's the sunshine in it. Every conversation, even the tough ones, is a chance to listen and grow stronger. So let's reach out, call a friend in another province, share a story, or just say, we are in this together, because Canada's heart beats loudest when we hold hands across the prairies, forests, and coast. This is Sandy Sunshine signing off with love, light, keep shining, Mavericks, and let's keep Canada glowing, growing, and free.
Sandy, thank you. Just like all us misfits, us Maverick misfits, you, Sandy Sunshine, are one of a kind. A snowflake. Man, you're melting my heart. May the rays of sunshine. See you guys back here tomorrow. Love you all, especially you, John, my friend, and Chris. Thank you. Catch you on the flip side.
Drifting down without a sound, a gentle touch upon the ground. No two the same, yet side by side, like you and me in this great tide. Like a fingerprint from God, frozen tears from up above. Each one special, each one rare, a fleeting wonder, light as air. Here for a moment, then melting away. Gone in the sunlight, lost in the day. Taken for granted, so easy to miss. Like life itself, so fragile is this. A million fall, yet each stands true. A perfect shape, a different hue. Just like us, no two alike. A spark of life, a soul in flight. Like a fingerprint from God, frozen tears from up above. Each one special, each one rare, a fleeting wonder, light as air. Here for a moment, then melting away. Gone in the sunlight, lost in the day. Taken for granted, so easy to miss. Like life itself, so fragile is this. A million falling, yet each stands true. A perfect shape, a different hue. Just like us, no two alike. Like life itself, so fragile is this. Like you, like me, we shine, we fade. Yet every soul is beautifully made. A moment to love, a moment to stay. Before we drift, before we stray. Cherish the snowflakes, here only for a moment, then melt away.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.